You get nervous when we do the Zoom calls, and I get nervous when we do this, and I'm fine in the Zoom call. So I'm going to pretend that it's a Zoom call and just it's no big deal. Hey, you guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Jen Henry Experience. I'm sitting here with a client and a good friend of mine, Devana Camé. I'm so excited that you were able to, you have such a busy schedule and you have so many things going on. And so I'm just grateful that you had an opportunity to sit down with us and kind of go back and forth around some of the things that we've, been going through over the last year with everything going on. And I'm gonna let Devana share a little bit about where she was at when we met, but I just want to really highlight that this last year has been up and down for a lot of people. For some people, it was devastating, and for some people, it was the best year of their life. And I truly believe that people's results come as people's experiences come as a result of the actions that they're taking on a daily basis, on the commitments that they make themselves, on their ability to connect to who they're being in the here and now. And so Devana, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, share with everyone what you do, and maybe a little bit get into where you were when we met.
Well, I'll start off by saying 2020 wasn't a horrible year for me. I tend to not put so much emphasis on one person, let's say the president or whoever it is, to determine how my life is going to be. I have to figure out myself. I have to pivot. I have to strategize. I have to do, if something happens in the economy or different things like that, for example, then I just have to shift my thinking on what I could do to move around that or change something up to make that more successful that year, whatever. So I didn't have a horrible 2020. Were there horrible moments? Yes. Were there depressing days? Yes. But overall, I can't look back and say it was the worst year of my life. Right. So you and I have known each other like maybe a year and a half, 2 years, possibly like on a different level with my sober living homes and different things on how we met. But I became an actual client, I believe around March 2020. Mm-hmm. So what led up to me actually kind of pulling the trigger on calling you and saying, okay, let's like do something. So in my life, I've done a lot of work around personal growth. But the one area I feel like I struggled with still and I really never tapped into was like body image. I felt like I was always a pretty healthy person, but that was always just focused on being skinny or what the scale said or how I looked on the outer part of my being. So it kind of changed too, and I'm going to try not to get too emotional. But when I came to you, I was thinking, oh, she's going to help me like focus on working out better and maybe giving me some tips on eating different. And it was so much more than that. Like you really helped me go deep inside of myself and started this huge journey on like what I'm calling now is like true health. So when I came to you, I was in a place every single morning. The first thing I would do is take all my clothes off that I slept in, get on that scale, and I would have calendars that I would literally mark my weight. I could go back and I could tell you for the last 2 years, every single day, what I weighed on that day. I don't know why this number meant so much to me, but it did for whatever reason. And that number would determine my day. So if I got on the scale and I was the number that I thought I should be, it started great. Then I went on my day and blah, blah. If that number wasn't where it was, it just would put me in this dark place on, not like depressed in bed that I couldn't get up, but on beating myself up. So I have a huge judge inside of me. I don't have so much of a critic. And for me, the determination on either of those is my judge has this gavel and you should have done better. You shouldn't have done this. You could do better tomorrow. That's kind of like the judge with the gavel. I don't have the critic that is saying like you're worthless or you're a piece of shit. I don't have that self-talk. More, you could do better. You need to do this. You should have done this differently, blah, blah, blah. And that beats you up.
It does.
The same as the other, right? But just in a different way. So I just felt like I needed to do something to change it. So when I called you, I was like, I need to lose weight. I need to get back. I need that number on the scale.
You know, it's so funny. You're not alone in this. Oftentimes, you know, people, they buy what they want, not what they need, right? We see these shiny things in a commercial and maybe it's a commercial for a car. And it's not really the car that they're advertising. They're advertising the experience that you're going to have as a result of buying this car. And so I think it's so important to really touch on the fact that when we started to connect to the experiences that you were looking for, right? What are the experiences that you were actually having? Like, for example, if I may, you know, you had a really difficult time setting boundaries, right? Being able to say, this is what is real for me. This is what I need, even if that makes you uncomfortable, right? And sometimes like friendships, right? We have these friendships in our lives that we perform for. Right? We perform for people. We perform for people, places, and things so that we fit in, so that we can be a chameleon, so that we can blend, so that we can not be the tall poppy, you know, because in the story of, you know, the tall poppy gets cut. And so when you came to me, you know, there was a little bit of a resistance around setting some boundaries around some relationships, but mostly there was, like you said, some really unhealthy connections and some stories that you were telling yourself. You know, sometimes those stories are, if I do this, they won't like me. But other stories that were really strong for you was, what I should have been better. I could have been this. I should have done it this way. And the truth was that you did the best that you knew how. And so it first started with us having to work on what are the stories, getting clear on what are the stories. So what were some of the things that you would say? What are some of the things that you would believe to be true?
If I wasn't like a specific weight or something like that, is that what you're talking about?
Right. So there's one.
I wasn't going to be accepted. I wasn't going to fit in to what society thinks is sexy or beautiful or perfect. I also had a deep sense inside of myself that I felt like I knew I wasn't being authentic, because I would go to my sober living houses. I'll give an example, the female house, and so many of them struggled with eating disorders or body image. And I was like their number one cheerleader on, like, you have to accept yourself for exactly who you are. You know, you have to work on emotional stuff. And I was there doing all this when every morning I was getting on the scale and I was not being able to do it for myself. And that really bothered me.
Feels really out of alignment.
Yeah.
Right?
So why I could do it for other people, or I could see other people, or I could even look at my friends and think they're so beautiful and they're just amazing, but I wasn't able to do it for myself.
What do you feel like was, so we've touched on it a couple times. I think you mentioned it a couple times. So Devanna owns sober living homes. She is one of the very, very, very few people who owns a sober living home that I have respect for. There is, unfortunately, in the industry, there are people who like to take advantage and prey on those less fortunate and who are in a place of desperation and fear. And unfortunately, that is just the way that industry is. And so while I do work with some addicts and some alcoholics, the gist of my program, the gist of my clientele consists of the actual wellness professionals that are working with these men and women. Because like Devanna said, for example, I was being this support for all of these men and women, but I wasn't doing the things that I needed to do to support myself first. And that's where I recognized Devanna and I, as she said, we met each other through mutual business inquiries and connections, mutual friends, probably a good 6 to 9 months before we actually started working together. And sometimes I feel like it's the wellness professional, the mental health professional, the recovery professional who has spent, I hit my mic, hopefully we're still good, but who have spent their whole lives being whatever everybody else needed them to be, thinking that would make them okay. But you're living proof that that's not true. My clientele is proof that that's not true. So what happened? Like, what was the breaking point? Like, what was something that really started to hit home that, I have to do this for myself. Like, I need to work with Jen. I need to work with someone. I need to find a coach. I need to find someone who can guide me to becoming the hero of my own story. So that I'm stopping the hero of everyone else's story and the guide for everyone else's story, and I can become the hero for my own story. What actually, like...
I think the pivotal point for me was I was just kind of like in this hamster wheel. And every day I would, like I said, write these numbers down and whatnot. And what I started really noticing is even on the days that I was this number or whatever, I still it wasn't making me happy. I wasn't like, okay, that number, now I'm good. Now I can go on, you know, with life good. The next day would start over again with like, am I going to be good today or am I not going to be good today? And it just kind of crept up and was like, I'm done with this. Like, I can't do it anymore.
So a decision to take back control.
Yeah. And define like true happiness, whether there's a number on a scale or whatever, outside things, but like how I needed to change how I felt inside and not just what I thought I should look like or portray.
What do you feel like the hardest thing to let go of has been for you?
The number on the scale.
The number on the scale. What do you feel like has helped?
Just the inner work that that number doesn't define me.
So for example, if, you know, you're having a bad day and you're like, I ate a brownie last night, and you want to get up and your head's telling you to get on that scale because it's going to determine how you feel. What comes up and what do you do instead? Like, what do you tell yourself? What action do you take? What's a tip that you can give someone who may be telling themselves that they need to do this in order to be okay, but it's just not working?
I think now I have such a good regimen during my day, like my workouts and my sauna and all my things that I'm doing for my health. It doesn't creep up as much for me about, you know, if that number's not right. But if it does pop into my head, which it does sometimes, I just tell myself it's okay. Tomorrow I can do better with my eating, or I can do get back on my regimen and do what's making me actually healthy instead of, depriving myself of food or beating myself up, because beating myself up isn't going to make that brownie go away or isn't going to make the number on the scale change. So it's just my self-talk has started to slowly change. Do I still have those times where I catch myself? It's almost a little bit like I'll yell at myself in my own head.
Yeah.
So I'm like, stop. Redirect your thought.
Yes.
And then I make myself say a positive thought.
Yes. Yes. I love that you touched on that, because the truth is that when we want to remove something, if we do not choose what we put in its place, anything can fill that space.
Yeah.
And there's so much chaos, so much nonsense roaming the air right now that there is more than likely going to be some nonsense that fills that empty space once we try and remove that negative thought. So it may not be that same negative thought, but some other doubtful, hesitant, fearful, I guess, thought, if you will, would fill that space.
I think too, every time I have my conversations with you, the word authentic always comes up. And at first I'm like, I am authentic. Like this is me. This is who I am. Like, getting on the scale every morning is who I am or whatever. But I didn't really understand like fully what that actually meant until I really started getting into my work with you. And the questions you would ask me during our sessions sometimes might not even hit me in the moment, but after I get off the phone or, the couple weeks until I talk to you again, like I'm pondering that and thinking about that and processing like what changes I need to make or what that really, I guess, getting honest with myself. Because sometimes it's hard in the moment. You want to automatically get defensive, or you want to automatically be like, no, that doesn't resonate with me. But when you really, really get honest with yourself, you're like, shit, I am doing that. Or why can't I get past, whatever questions.
That is the authenticity, is when you can put aside all the things you thought were true, let go of them, just step back from everything that you thought was true, thought you needed to happen, let go of any expectations that you had around what it was supposed to look like for you or for anyone else. And then decide what it is you are saying yes to. Decide what it is that is true for you. Decide what it is that your gut and your soul really, is it feeling good or bad, right? Does this feel good or bad? If it's the right thing, why does it feel so bad? Because it's not the right thing. And it's that simple. And we try to make so much more out of it than that. But the truth is that when we ask ourselves, does this feel good or bad? Our gut tells us. We have to be willing to listen.
And I think, to touch on something else, I think the more you do your inner work, like your true self growth work, it's so hard to go backwards. Like you just keep going forwards, and then things kind of start adding up or piling on that you wouldn't maybe have known before. So for an example, I felt like I was spinning my wheels with health. I was eating healthy. I was doing all these things, but there was still so much health-wise going on that I was getting more frustrated and more frustrated because nothing I was doing was changing the outcome of some of my blood results or my doctor's visits. And I'm trying to figure out kind of where I'm going with this, but
I can see it from a mile away.
You kind of like, it just, as things just keep opening up, it's almost like an onion that just keeps peeling away. The more you do your work, the more in tune with your body you get, and the more connected to yourself you get. And then things start, you're like, oh my gosh, like your eyes open to this or that. And that's kind of what happened in my health journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So tell us, dig a little bit into that, because you have an amazing story. And so this is where I get chills, because this is where, for me, the work really impacts. This is where the work really can have an impact on your entire life experience. And now you were talking about you had a revolving door, you were on this hamster wheel with your health, you were doing all the right things, and I was there, I was witnessing it. Now, of course, you and I, all my clients know my thing is eat more.
Yeah.
But regardless of that, you were eating low inflammatory foods, you were not eating sugar, you were moving your body on a daily basis, you were meditating, you were doing the sauna, you were doing all the things. And yet you still had something wrong, and you knew that you knew what it was. Right? And we had talked about it multiple times before, but there was a huge stuck point around this topic. So why don't you share a little bit more?
So 13 years ago, I got breast implants. Mm-hmm. For many reasons that were my own, one of them being insecurities, not feeling sexy enough or sensual enough. I think everybody who gets them has their own reason for getting them. Mine were because of just not feeling good enough, or not, I would never feel like, with little boobs that a guy's going to look at me and think I look sexy or whatever. So I decided to get them. Shortly after I got them, I started having lots of stuff happen with my health, but never did I correlate that with my implants, nor did any doctor. They just said, oh, you're having this horrible thing. Let's ablate your uterus. Like, there are just all these things that I started doing. And then I thought, oh, well, okay, I have to do that. And I have to do this. And it turned into like MRIs on my brain. CAT scans, ultrasounds, but it was so many different things. I was having all of these autoimmune symptoms, but no autoimmune disease. My blood work was always weird, but they could never figure out what it was. And over the years, it progressively got worse. So it ended up with really bad gut issues and gastritis, and my body's shutting down completely, and I couldn't go to the bathroom on my own at all. So I had to be on a very strong medication to help me go to the bathroom. And I kept questioning and going to each doctor saying, like, I'm 47 at this point, and I have to take this pill for the rest of my life, but nothing's, why? I don't understand. And they're like, well, it just happens. It's just your body. And there was part of my gut that didn't want to accept that that's just what it was.
Well, part of your gut authentically knew that that's not true.
Yeah. So I never correlated this for 13 years, all the different things I went through, until just this last year, probably when I was really getting connected with self. The last doctor's visit I went to, when he said, well, now your spleen and your liver enlarged, I was like, okay, something's not right. So I started doing tons of research and really I've talked to you about it before, but I was like, I know it's my implants that are making me sick. So I figured that the worst case scenario was I would take them out and nothing would change. And then I eliminated what was in my brain, making me think that this was causing an issue. A few things led up, different doctors that I saw that did tell me that clients of theirs took them out and started seeing good results. So I decided right away to remove my implants. And for me personally, best decision I've ever made. My symptoms have pretty much all cleared up. I just went to the doctor to do a deeper dive into what's going on inside my body instead of just the symptoms clearing up. My heavy metals are off the chart. So next week I start a really intensive, aggressive chelation therapy with IVs. That's going to take a long time. It's all a process, but I feel like for the first time, probably in my entire life, I feel more comfortable in my skin than I ever have with my small boobs, scars and all. Like, I don't feel like that defines me anymore. It doesn't make me sexier or more sensual. Like, that comes from within. And I think that's all due to so much of the work I've done with you.
Devanna, you know, this is such a sensitive topic for not just you, but I know so many women, because I myself identify as someone who I did get implants because I've always wanted them. I've been looking since I was 16 for different doctors. I researched for 10 years and I decided to take that upon myself because of my own personal wants and needs and preferences. I also know that most women are not fully informed when they're getting their breasts. Now, I took 10 years to do research. I knew what I was getting into. I knew that my body could reject them. I knew that there could be complications. I knew that my body could have autoimmune responses. Most women don't know that. Most women don't understand that there is a foreign object in your body, and your body may spend the rest of its life trying to get it out or at war with itself because of it. Not very women are intuitive enough or connected well enough to recognize that that is something that is happening to them. So I wanted to bring you on and I wanted you to share about that specifically, especially because I know that there's so much mental, emotional, and spiritual work that had to go into your ability to accept yourself with or without implants, with or without breasts as a female. And whether it's because of a personal health decision to take them out, a personal physical decision to take them out, or maybe you had cancer and ended up having to remove them and you're not not qualified.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Candidate, thank you. And not a candidate for implants. They're maybe suffering right now from having body image issues, from not feeling feminine, from not feeling like they're whole. So what advice, like maybe you could share a little bit about some of your fear in removing them? Because I know that when it came down to it, and I asked you the question, if nobody else's opinion mattered ever, what would you do? And you said, I'd take them out in a heartbeat. I said, then what are you waiting for? Mm-hmm. Right? And I remember that, and I get chills thinking about it because you were so certain that you knew that this is the next immediate step, the next indicated step for you, but you were still hesitant. Why was that?
It's scary. You know, it actually took me back 13 years prior to when I got them. It was really emotional. I had a few weeks before my explant surgery. I mean, I think I probably cried all day long, every day. Not just because I'm going to have my boobs removed, but actually mourning the person that I was 13 years ago and feeling so sad for me that I felt that I had to get them for the reasons I had to get them. Not because I just really wanted them and I liked how they looked and all of this other stuff. I got them because for everybody else, because ex-relationships and ex-husbands and whatever it is, the things that they said, I took to be the truth. What, you know, girls with big boobs were sexier, whatever, you know, whatever the talk was. And I took that to be the truth, that without those, I wasn't ever going to be accepted as this, you know, pretty sexual woman. And that was so far from the truth, it's not even funny. But it took me back to a really dark place before I got them and why I got them. And I had to really process that part of who I was and mourn that and kind of just move forward from that, I guess. So I did a lot of work around all of that. And I've grown so much in 13 years, so much over the last year, that I kind of came to the conclusion that I just am ready, whether if you don't like how I look, don't look. If you don't think, you know, I know my husband and he's such an amazing guy and he would love me with boobs, without boobs, whatever. But I also had to go there like, well, if he doesn't find me attractive after, it's not my issue. Like, I have to do this for me. Yes. And in fact, it's funny because now he tells me, he just sees such a shift in me and he tells me all the time, this is what I've told you for so long. It doesn't matter whether you have boobs or this or a nose job or whatever. It's the confidence that comes from within that makes you sexy. So he always tells me, he just sees that within me now, even more than before. So, and getting the implants, I thought, oh, I'm going to get them and I'm going to feel confident. And it didn't do any of that for me. In fact, it brought on more insecurities and more issues that I had to work on over the years because I was getting them for the wrong reasons.
Right. So you are living, walking proof that when you seek an authentic, nourishing life, right, that of true health and true happiness, your words, that is more beautiful than anything you could possibly create from the stories other people need from us, right? From the stories that we hear from other people. You know, when we can step into who we need to be for us first. We just had a podcast. I just had a podcast with my friend Allison where we were talking about how sometimes people can consider and have been brought up to believe that taking care of your own health and wellness first is selfish. But the truth is that you were denying your husband and your children and your clients and your relationships, your true best self by trying to be whatever you thought they needed you to be. The truth is that people need us. My clients, my family, my friends, the people watching, they need us to be 100% authentic. They need us to be able to show them what it looks like to take care of us, to love us, right? And so by you stepping up, loving yourself, loving the best version of yourself, bringing her forward, regardless of how anyone else felt, they have all developed the ability to know what it looks like. They have the understanding of what it looks like now to love Devanna, right? The way Devanna needs to be loved. And so not only are you being nourished and loved by yourself, right? But now you're going to be able to feel that from others as well. And they get to be inspired by that.
I think also another big thing that you kind of asked earlier, and it's kind of coming to me now, like what a pivotal thing that changed in my life. I've always been somebody that doesn't want to rock the boat too much. I don't want to offend somebody. That's never my intention. And so speaking my truth sometimes gets held back because I always worry about the other person's feelings. Yeah. And this is a big one for me. There's many women who have thousands and thousands of women who have implants or who are doing things that I don't want to come across saying like, oh, it's so bad that every woman has it. And that's not my intention. My intention is to speak my truth and what happened to me. And if somebody gets offended, then I think then that's on them. And they have to look at maybe what's triggering their response. Exactly. But breast implant illness is real and it affects a lot of women and it doesn't affect other women. And by doing my research, each person, I maybe was predisposed or more sensitive to the heavy metals or the toxins that are in them, and where another woman isn't. So it affected me in a different way. So I'm not going to hold back. I'm speaking my truth because it might help somebody who's going through what I went through, who are having these symptoms that no doctor can understand why, to hopefully be more connected with their body and check this out. So it's hard to speak your truth when you don't want to offend.
It is.
You're helping me work through that.
So that's the truth for, there's so many sensitive topics that are coming up that are separating families and friends. And it's so sad to watch the division that's coming up because people's feelings get hurt. And we get to look at the fact that if my feelings are hurt, that is a direct result of my feelings and my beliefs, right? Now, if someone comes at me and calls me all kinds of names, even then, if you were to say, Jen, you know what? You're just such a bitch. I'm sorry that is your perception of me. I'm sorry. I'm really, if you think I'm a bitch, then you're a really lucky person to have never actually met a real bitch. Yeah. Right? Because there is a huge difference between lashing out and speaking truth. There is a difference between attacking and sharing an opinion. I can share an opinion without worrying what other people think. I can also share my true life experience without worrying what other people think. But the minute that I try to turn that on someone else and make it specifically about them, my opinion about them, it holds no water. If they ask me for it, maybe they want it to hold a little weight, I'll give it to them. Don't ask questions you don't want to know the answers to. But if you ask me, I will tell you. And I'm starting to get more and more sure of the fact that I truly believe that when we can share our experience authentically, it gives other people the ability to learn how to share authentic experience without judgment and without opinion.
Yeah. So through this process and the word authentic, it's brought up so many questions for me. So I had a really good conversation with my doctor the other day when we were talking about the chelation therapy starting. And I get Botox, or I have gotten Botox for many years. I color my hair, you know, I do all this stuff. And she was explaining to me in the chelation process that it's going to be fighting every toxin in my body, basically, and getting all the heavy metals and everything out. So I might not want to do Botox in the moment because it's probably going to be a waste of money. It's going to just be fighting against it, right? Like the heavy metals in my hair dye or, you know, different things are going to kind of be fighting against it. So it's forcing me in a way to stop my Botox for the moment, to stop, you know, my grays are coming through. And that's going to force me to really sit with like no mask on.
Right.
And I don't know where I'll end up. That's where your work with me will probably come in. But I will at least have had a time to process if I'm okay with the wrinkles or if I'm okay with some gray coming through. And at the end of this whole detox process, maybe I'll get Botox again. I don't know. I don't know the answer to those questions. And maybe I won't. Maybe I'll be fine where I don't feel like I need that. So I'm interested to see what the next kind of 6 months is going to turn around for me in terms of what I'm going to continue to do or not do. And that's where my questions came up for her with, where do you take the authenticity to? And it's different for everybody, right? For me, it's going to be totally different for somebody else. And then she made a comment that, again, I don't want to offend anybody, but I'm just going to say it because it rang true for me. She said, you're doing everything. I've told her about you. I'm totally honest. It's like a holistic type doctor. So a naturopathic doctor. So it's like 2-hour sessions that we talk about everything. She's like, you're doing coaching and therapy. You're eating clean. You're working out. You're sitting in your sauna. You're doing detox. You're doing the epitome of what a healthy person is doing. There's other people that might look 10 years younger than you, but are they really doing the epitome of health, or is it fake health? That you can walk into a room and say, wow, you look amazing. Like you look so good for your age. But are they doing all the other things that are actually making them healthy, or are they just putting Botox in or fillers to make them look young? Is that really help?
I mean, and I know that that's a really bad correlation, but the truth is, am I putting lipstick on a pig? Am I just shining up an old car? Am I just putting a new paint job on a broken down car? Right?
And that little sentence just hit me really hard, because I think in our society, just as women in general, it's hard to be in a society where everybody does Botox and fillers and even dyeing hair, whatever you do to make yourself feel younger, right? How do you get, and this is a serious question I'm asking myself, how do I get the confidence inside of myself to stand next to 10 other women who may be the same age as me, but look 10, 15 years younger than me because they have Botox or fillers, and still feel worthy and confident and sexy and all those things without feeling like I have to conform to what everybody else is doing? And these are really big questions coming up for me.
What's beautiful is that I get to be witness to some of the strongest, most capable women I've ever met seek enlightenment, seek transcension. You transcend. That's the answer. You become enlightened. That's the answer. It's one of those things where we become so accepting of life in itself that all the other stuff fades away. Am I saying that that's me? Absolutely not. Am I saying that may not ever even be my goal? My goal may be to be as healthy and as good looking or as young looking as possible for my life. I may get over that at some point. Who knows? But as long as in the moment you're doing what you need to be doing to answer those questions honestly for yourself. if you're sitting there saying, I will never give up my Botox, I don't give a shit what's going on. Like I could be like dying of pancreatic cancer and knowing that my body can't process any of these things and I'm still going to go get my Botox, right?
It's your preference.
Because that's what makes you feel good, then God damn it, go get your Botox. Who gives a shit?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? If you want to take a vaccine and you don't think other people, or you don't think people should take a vaccine, do whatever you want. It isn't for anyone else.
No,
it is for you.
Exactly.
And that is what it comes down to, is all of these choices, all of the things that we're faced with on a daily basis, whether it be the true, deep, meaningful questions or the really light, superficial, like what are we going to go, what movie, what Netflix show are we going to watch today? There is a positive intention behind all of it. And if we can get connected to what that positive intention is, we can start to get to know ourselves on a true, authentic level that will help us be able to create the life that we want, the experience in life that we want. Remember, it's not about the car. It's about the person that you become owning that car or driving that car or experiencing that car, right? It's not about the boobs. It's not about the Botox. It's who am I being that I need Botox? Who am I being that I need implants? Or who am I being that I don't need these implants anymore?
And I think that's, like you said, different for every single person.
Exactly.
And it's okay if there's no judgment if somebody wants to do Botox or get implants, that's their thing. I'm
like me.
I like how I look with Botox. I like how I look with my hair dyed. It makes me feel good. But I think going through this, so another thing is, she did a lot of tests on me. And one thing that can happen with breast implant illness is food intolerances, is gut issues and heavy metals. Like, there's lots of different things. So when I look at these tests, there's one thing to think, like, oh, possibility of maybe this could have happened. But when I look at my tests and they're tangible in my hand and I see my food intolerances, which are, by the way, spinach and bananas are my biggest thing. I've been eating bowls of spinach and tons of bananas, and they're my biggest intolerance. And I had no idea until I got my test done. Now I know, okay, which foods I'm not spinning my wheels anymore as much as I was, where I'm like, why am I feeling so gross? But I'm eating this healthy bowl of spinach. My gut issues now make sense to me, seeing my bacteria. I basically have no bacteria digesting or fighting my stuff in my gut. So she's working on that. My heavy metals off the chart. So for me, I'm able to look at other things and make decisions based on those. Not just, like no judgment on, I wish I could do Botox every day right now. I like how it looks. But when I then research and I think, okay, I'm going through so much. I went through so much with my surgery, so much with healing, so much emotional healing. Now I'm going through chelation therapy, which is going to be really intense because my mercury is like, it's not even on the chart anymore. It's like past the chart. So they have to be aggressive with it. Do I go get my hair dyed and it has mercury? Do I go put more into my body that I'm trying to fight so hard to get out of my body? So for me personally, that's counterproductive. My struggle.
Well, when we look at what's real, like in the moment, and this is just getting down to, because it's me and you. The truth of the matter is that right now it wouldn't make sense to do those things. It'd be a waste of time, waste of money. You want to be able to focus 100% of who you're being on what you're doing in that moment. And so if that moment happens to be a period of time, like a chelation therapy, being able to dedicate yourself to whatever you're doing 100% at that time you're going to get at least as much as you can to it. If that means you end up going a demi-permanent route with your hair color instead of permanent, or if that means you end up doing microneedling instead of Botox. There are things that we can do and adjustments we can make to still give ourselves that feeling of I'm taking care of myself, I'm doing everything I can without as much harm.
Oh, trust me, there'll be lasers and microneedling.
But in a more natural, less chemical way, right?
But I do want to say that I don't think I would be where I'm at in this process, emotionally, even physically, whatever, without having been working with you.
I appreciate that, sweetheart.
Because you have really, I have been to life coaches, I've been to therapists, I've been to workshops.
You were working with a life coach when I met you.
Yeah, and it's all great. They did their job on what I was bringing to them. But maybe somewhere inside me, I was always so scared to bring the body image stuff or the health stuff because I wasn't ready to change it, or I wasn't in the place where I wanted to even hear anything about it. So it served its purpose. But and maybe they weren't the perfect people to work on that with me, right? You find different coaches for different things that fit with your lifestyle or whatever.
Well, when the student is in need, the teacher will appear. And I truly believe that you had to work with who you had to work with. And you wouldn't be who you are today had you not gone through the experiences that you've gone through, right? And along our journey, we meet guides. But it really comes down to us having to become the hero of our own story. And I'm just grateful that you took the reins and you decided before you ever picked up the phone to call me, there was a decision that was made. I don't want to feel like this anymore. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to not feel like this anymore. What do I do? And you asked for help. And I think that that's the first, biggest, most important step, is the fact that we acknowledge that we want control back. We want the power back. We want to be able to design a life that we love instead of waking up and being victim to whatever the day throws my way. Knowing that I get to choose how I respond to something every single day. I don't have to react or be a victim to whatever else is happening. And you have decidedly taken control of the things you have control over. And when you did that, you were then able to see what was working and what wasn't working, and where you could maybe, okay, so this is what I've got. I'm going to take a little off of here and I'm going to add a little on here. And I'm going to take this corner and I'm going to adjust this. But you didn't just try to pick up everything and just change everything. It was this gradual process, and it's still a process. And like you said, the next 6 months are going to be a journey. And I'm excited to be able to be a guide and ask you and hold the mirror so you can see, this is what you're saying. This is what you're experiencing, you know? Like, it isn't my job to have any judgment. I'm just sitting here saying, hey, this is what you're telling me.
No, but you do such a great job at challenging me, pushing me, holding me accountable. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Just the questions you ask me push me and challenge me and make me think and make me go deeper. And sometimes I can get off on not shallow is not the right word, but a surface thing. And you're like, no, go. And you keep pushing me to go down and like really find the core of what I'm struggling with. And I appreciate that.
Thank you for saying that. I think sometimes all of us have a tendency to go wider instead of deeper. And the fact is, and what a perfect way to wrap this up, because the truth is that we can cover all the bases, but all the bases don't matter right in this one moment. What matters in this one moment is the one thing, the one step, the one action, the one thought or belief that you can shift, the one inspired action that you can take to shift what you're experiencing right now. And it starts with doing that just once. And then once that's done, doing it again. And it is literally just amassing these little baby steps forward, because it's like we're staring at this big wall, and it looks like the closer we are to the wall, we're like, oh my God, it's insurmountable. I can't even see the top. I can't see around it. But as I kind of back up and I give myself this little bit of space, I start to notice, oh shit, the wall ends right there. Okay, wait, let me back up, and then it ends here. And then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, if I've backed up enough to get clear on my entire situation, step by step, things start to come more into focus. And I start to realize there are things that I have thought were insurmountable. I thought they were the truth. I thought these were fact. But the truth is, I didn't have to work on my whole belief system about the whole world. I had to work on this one thing that kept coming up. So if there's one thing, whether it be what you're eating, whether it be lack of movement, whether it be inability to connect to yourself in that moment, whether it be not being able to say no or yes to the right things for you, whether it be not able to be authentic, whatever the one thing is that is keeping you stuck over and over and over in the one thing that you wish you can shift, just start there, right? For you, it was the body image, and it was being able to not get on that scale. And that one action or purposeful inaction, right? We had to shift. It wasn't a big shift. It was a big shift for you in that moment, but it was one small thing, one thing. We didn't worry about the food yet. We didn't worry about exercise. We didn't worry about the menu or anything. We worried about not worrying about that scale. We're just not going to look at the scale for a week. That's it. And it started there, and it blossomed into something incredible.
If I would have come to this conclusion in the end, it would have taken a lot longer. I don't know if I would have come to the conclusion of taking my implants out had it not been for the work I've done with you. Because it wasn't just that I wasn't feeling health. It was the ability for me to connect with myself, to understand that this was causing, and follow my gut, and just the whole journey on my health. And then working with you, I don't know if courage is the right word, but it gave me
support.
Yeah, just everything led up to where I was like, oh, take them out. It wasn't, I don't know, but I don't think I would have got there without all the work I did with you.
I'm so glad, sweetheart. So I'm so proud of you. I'm so glad that you came on and shared just completely, since it's the theme of the meeting, authentically.
Yeah.
I am so inspired by you. And I know so many other people are going to be helped by and inspired by your journey. And I just hope that they can see the light that is shining from you because of the fact that you were able to say yes to what you needed and no to the things that were no longer serving you. Being able to recognize what it is that you needed in your life so that you could step up and be the hero, and what has transpired as a result of that. You know, it's okay for other people to be uncomfortable with decisions that you make. As long as you are comfortable with the decisions you make and you continue to make those, that's all that matters.
Yep. So going forward, in our next sessions, the big question that I'm asking myself is, why am I so afraid of a wrinkle?
I love it. We're gonna be digging into it for sure. Yep. Absolutely, yes. All right, you guys. So wrinkles or no wrinkles, Botox, no Botox, boobs or no boobs, you guys, be you. Do what you need to do for you so that you are okay every single day. If some days you're not okay, that's okay too. Give yourself grace, be kind, be patient, and keep moving forward. Until next time, you guys, this is Jen with Jen Henry Experience, and I will see you soon.